5 facts you should know about money before you turn 30. No one ever tells you what you should know about money when you're young. There isn't a class in high school, or even college, where a professor sits you down and says, "Now listen up, mastering money is no different than learning how to shoot a basketball or paint a picture." It just takes practice. Instead, money remains this massive unknown in their daily lives for many people. They don't know how to make more of it. They don't know how to spend less of it. They don't know how they'll ever save it. And they don't know what to do with it once they have it. Here are 5 things you should know about money before you turn 30. And the sooner you can learn these things, and start putting them into practice, the better off you'll be in the long run. 1. There are 5 buckets you should focus on when it comes to building a portfolio for your finances. These 5 buckets include cash, IRA, 401k, index fund, stocks, and high-risk investments in that particular order. One of the first rules of thumb I was given was that you should, first and foremost, have 3 months of expenses saved up and tucked away in your savings account. So if you know you spend, say, $3,000 per month, in rent, food, transportation, etc., then you should have at least $9,000 saved up in your bank account before you even think about playing the game of wealth accumulation and investing. If you're disciplined, you can achieve this goal 1 to 3 years out of college. It just means you might not be able to buy shots of tequila every weekend. Once you have 3 months of runway saved up, then you can move on to the next bucket, which is some sort of long-term investment vehicle like an IRA account or a 401k if your company offers it. The reason why I wanted to get started down this path sooner than later was because it's a vehicle that benefits heavily from the variable of time. The earlier you start, the more years of interest you can take advantage of, which means a bigger nest egg way down the road. So that's the second bucket, you want to start putting a little bit of money in. The third, then, is a middle ground between a retirement account and something a bit higher risk, like buying stocks yourself. The easiest bet here is to just put a little bit of money away each month into an index fund. This is another vehicle that benefits heavily from the variable of time, so if you have both a retirement account and an index fund accruing interest over 30, 40, 50 years, that can pay off big time for you down the road. Once you have cash, retirement, and long-term savings all in progress, then you're in a position to start playing the game of higher risk investing. This would mean buying stocks yourself, or trying your hand at buying Bitcoin or Ethereum. But the whole idea here is to set you up for long-term success, not fleeting gains. And no, this won't take you forever. For context, I achieved the first few steps here 3 years out of college. I wasn't rich, but at least I had the right habits trending in the right direction. 2. The fastest way to start saving and investing money is to tax yourself. When you're trying to build wealth for yourself, habits are more important than quick, high-yield investments. One of the first things this family friend said to me was, "You're not a day trader. So don't try to be." His point was that trading, picking stocks, and even this larger concept of making money fast was the wrong way of going about things. He explained that so many people make the mistake of trying to hit home runs, when in reality, you'll outperform the vast majority of people by treating your finances in a disciplined way. The best way to do this, which I got from Kevin O'Leary's book, Cold Hard Truth on Men, Women, and Money, 50 Common Money Mistakes and How to Fix Them, is to tax yourself. In his book, O'Leary explains that so many people really struggle to save or invest money because they live in a constant state of thinking they don't have enough money to begin with. They feel like they can barely pay their rent and afford basic living costs, and couldn't fathom saving even $50 or $100 per month. I would know, because when I first read this book, but O'Leary's point was that if the government one day decided, "You know what, we're going to tax everyone an extra $100 per month," then somehow, some way, you would figure out how to pay that. You'd pick up a side hustle. You'd eat out a few less times. You would pay that extra $100 to the government, so why not self-impose that same tax and pay yourself? So, that's what I did, and I've been doing it ever since. To start saving cash, I taxed myself $100 per month straight into my savings account. And when I set up my IRA account, I taxed myself another $50 to $100 per month, which automatically pulled from my bank account and went straight into my IRA. And then little by little, as I continued to increase my own personal income, I started taxing myself more and more and more. Today, on the first of every month, I have multiple taxes. It includes IRA tax, index fund tax, stock tax, and cryptocurrency tax. These are all set as automatic withdrawals. The money goes out. I don't see it. I don't touch it. And that's the point. 3. Life is a game of accumulating and deploying resources. This means you never want to risk more than you're willing to lose. This is a big mental shift that took me a while to learn. The way that people build true wealth for themselves is they see money differently than everyone else. They don't see it as something they have. They see it as something they deploy and use to build and grow from there. Once you have your 3 months of runway saved up in cash and you have set up recurring taxes on yourself to start feeding your long-term investment vehicles, now you're ready to start playing the game of investing. Some people like to play it safe and just buy stocks of trusted companies. Others like to throw a little bit of money at companies they think have potential for a lot of growth over the next 3 to 5 years. And some people really like to try their hand at forward-thinking companies and trends like cryptocurrencies, and are willing to accept the risk that comes along with those potential gains. Here's the thing, all of these approaches to investing are viable, and the truth is, it really becomes a question of your own personal risk tolerance. However, it's important to understand how aggressively you can play the game before you start pushing your chips into the center of the table. This is how you find your threshold for pain. And the name of the game is always making sure that however much you're investing is enough to participate in a positive life-changing result, but not so much that if things go south, your life changes negatively. 4. If you want to increase the amount of money you can deploy into investments, build other streams of income. There are only 2 ways to increase the amount of resources you have to play with. Make more money. Spend less money. That's it. Ideally, you always want to find ways to do both of these things at the same time. For example, every month I do a quick audit of my credit card statements to see which recurring charges I'm not using anymore, or which bad habits like eating out too often have crept back into my daily routine. I look for ways to cut back my spending, and then the next month I try to put those positive habits into place again. But the moment I started to really be able to save more money and even get started investing, was when I successfully built a secondary stream of income for myself. 5. Participate in other investments like real estate or angel investing once you've built the above habits into your daily life. For years, I've asked myself, when should I get into real estate? When can I start playing the angel investing game? The truth is, both these games are advanced styles of wealth accumulation and require a vastly different level of expertise. It's naive to think you can just start investing in real estate or playing the role of startup angel investor with minimal capital and no working knowledge. Instead, you should be more focused on building a strong financial foundation for yourself. One that will allow you to play these riskier games without losing your tail. Now, is it possible to skip right into the real estate game? Sure. But that hasn't been my path, and that hasn't been the path recommended by people much wealthier and much further along than me. Instead, every piece of advice I've received from real estate investors owning huge portfolios of rental properties, to angel investors that have participated in massive success stories, has been to master the basics before you start writing $25,000 checks to early-stage startups or trying to buy a home or rental. And the reason is because these games, although they can certainly be huge variables in building wealth for yourself, are also riskier for a reason. That's the trade-off. Higher risk, but higher reward. So, going back to number 3, you want to play these games once your threshold for pain is higher. If you lost $25,000 tomorrow, would your life change negatively? If the answer is an overwhelming yes, then you're not ready to play that game.